Hello, friends, and welcome to Sleep Tight Stories. Every week, we love celebrating our supporters with special shoutouts and birthday messages. It's a fun way for us to connect with all of you and learn about the amazing places you call home. Happy birthday, Eloisa, who turned 7 on November 16th. Mom, Dad, and your sisters Olivia and Isabella love you very much. Happy belated 7th birthday to Reggie. Love Mom, Dad, and Mally. Don't ever stop being who you are. Kind, creative, loving, and smart. We love you so much. Happy belated birthday to Morrigan, who turned 6 on November 17th. Love Mama, Daddy, and Carl. Happy belated birthday to our little chicken nugget, Maya Brown, who turned 13 years old. We hope you have a cozy year full of glitter and surprises. Happy 8th birthday to Scarlet Winter. You are very loved. Happy 6th birthday to Owen from Lake Shawnee, New Jersey. We love you and hope your day is as awesome as you are. Love Mom, Dad, and Evan. Mommy and Daddy wish a happy 5th birthday to our wonderful boy Leo in Massachusetts. Looking forward to more adventures with you. Happy 9th birthday to Jade from Elmhurst, Illinois. Mommy, Daddy, Bubba, and Bryn love you so much and are so proud of you. You are such a sweet, kind daughter and sister. Happy 8th birthday to Annabella of Head Royce School. Mommy, Daddy, Cohen, and A.T. are so proud of you and love you so much. Happy 9th birthday to sweet Charlie in Lake Stevens, Washington on November 21st. You are so kind and smart. We love you to the moon and back. Love Mommy, Daddy, and Mason. Happy 6th birthday to Natalie. Mom and Dad love you so much and are so proud of you. And happy birthday to Jack from Grandview Heights, Ohio, who is turning 6 on November 19th. From Mom, Dad, Ella, and Lucas, we love you so much. Happy birthday to you all, and thank you for supporting the show. If you'd like to support our podcast and enjoy ad-free episodes, unlock bonus stories, and so much more, you can join Sleep Tight Premium. Subscribe in just 2 taps via the link in our show notes. Now, on to our story. We are going to return to Nicole and the box in the barn. And since we have not had an episode in a while, we are going to begin with a recap of the story. Nicole wasn't thrilled when her and her mom moved to an old farmhouse on Prince Edward Island. She missed her life in Montreal, her friends, and especially the comforts of modern living, like Wi-Fi. But the quiet farm held secrets that would change everything. One day, while exploring the dusty, run-down barn, Nicole discovered a mysterious wooden box with intricate carvings. Inside, she found curious items, including a cloak, a compass, and a packet of magical seeds. Intrigued, Nicole planted the seeds in an overgrown patch of land. By the next day, the garden had transformed into a vibrant, magical paradise that seemed to come alive whenever she spoke to it. In the heart of this magical garden, Nicole stumbled upon a strange wooden doorway, surrounded by vines and flowers. Using a key from the box, she opened the door and stepped through into another time. On the other side, Nicole met Angus, a boy living on the farm decades in the past. Together, they explored the bustling farm, so different from its current state, and began to forge a friendship that bridged their very different worlds. At first, Nicole's mom didn't believe her tales of a magical garden and a doorway to another time. But after Nicole showed her the garden, her mother began to see the magic for herself. They decided to investigate further, focusing on the mysterious objects from the box and an old journal Nicole found in the attic. The journal, written by her great-grandfather, hinted at a deeper connection between Nicole's family and the magical farm. Now, Nicole and her mom are determined to uncover the truth about the garden, the doorway, and the secrets hidden in their family's history. But Nicole can't help wondering, what else might the garden reveal? And what does it mean for her and her new life on the island? In this part, Nicole's mom cannot stop reading and looking over the old documents they found in the attic. When she realizes it is almost morning, she gets up to stretch and go to bed, but needs to take one more trip to the garden, as it is pulling her out there. When Nicole wakes up, she realizes the house is very quiet and wonders where her mom could be. She eats breakfast and then heads out to the garden to see what is the light that is catching her eye. Nicole and the Box in the Barn, Part 11. Nicole's mother stayed up late, poring over the old, dusty documents Nicole had brought down from the attic. The musty smell reminded her of the secondhand bookstores she and Nicole's father used to wander into during their travels. She smiled faintly at the memory. What would he say about all this? He'd always called this farm a magical place, though she'd assumed he meant its beauty or history, not a garden that seemed alive or a door that could lead them back in time. As the first streaks of dawn lit the sky, she realized she's been sitting at the table all night. Her neck ached, and her eyes felt gritty from lack of sleep. She stretched, then stood, intending to go to bed. But a pull she couldn't quite explain led her toward the garden. She didn't bother with shoes. She rarely did at Nicole's age. Shoes had been optional back then, and that habit never quite left her, though she chuckled at the thought of trying that in Montreal. I'd be escorted out of every cafe in the city. Slipping quietly out the door, she crossed the dewy grass. The chill of the ground seeped through her soles, and the long blades tickled her ankles. The grass is getting out of hand. I wonder if the old lawnmower even works. She sighed, briefly overwhelmed by the sheer amount of work the farm demanded. Yet, seeing Nicole finally starting to accept this place as home made every task worthwhile. The garden gate swung open without protest, its hinges smooth and silent. If only the house doors worked like this, she mused. Stepping inside, she wiped her eyes and looked around. Even in the dim morning light, the garden was breathtaking. Colors shimmered before her: blush pink peonies, fiery marigolds, and jewel-toned berries, all glistening with dew. The air was fragrant, the sweetness of flowers mingling with an elusive spice that brought her back to their time in Thailand. Butterflies flitted lazily among the blossoms, their delicate wings catching the soft light. Aren't butterflies supposed to rest at night? She wondered. Yet, for all its beauty, the garden felt different. When she was here with Nicole, the garden seemed alive, leaning toward them and responding to their presence. Now, while the flowers were still vibrant, they didn't sway toward her or bloom brighter as before. The feeling of being an outsider crept into her thoughts. Maybe this place really isn't meant for her, she thought, tracing a velvety peony with her fingertips. Then she noticed something odd. Near the corner of a garden, where a cluster of sunflowers stretched impossibly tall, there was a faint glow. It was subtle, like the first hint of sunrise, but it seemed to pulse softly as if alive. She hesitated, unsure whether to approach it. The garden had made its feelings clear. It accepted her, but it thrived for Nicole. A yawn escaped her lips, making the decision for her. She wouldn't venture deeper into the garden this morning. Satisfied that the garden was as she had seen it, and that she hadn't imagined its wonders, she turned and made her way back to the house. Kids have a way of creating their own version of the world, she thought, bridging the possible and the impossible. It took more to convince her, though. Quietly, she climbed the stairs to her room, finally surrendering to sleep. Nicole groaned as a sliver of sunlight found its way through her curtains, blazing directly onto her face. She opened one eye, squinting against the brightness. I'm going to have the weirdest tan, she thought, grabbing her pillow and plopping it over her head. I thought I had closed that curtain tight, she grumbled. The house was still, except for the ever-present sound of wind whistling through its cracks. Nicole listened for her mother's usual morning routine, tea boiling, chairs creaking at the kitchen table, but heard nothing. Weird. Mom always gets up before me. What time is it, she thought. It's 9 a.m. I must have been super tired to sleep this late. Nicole used to stay in bed late all the time when they lived in Montreal, but with all that had happened lately, that felt like a long time ago. Dragging herself out of bed, she shivered as her feet touched the icy floor. She rummaged in her closet for a pair of sweatpants, pulling them on quickly. She added a t-shirt, but, as usual, forgot socks. As she padded down the stairs, the smell of faintly burnt wood lingered, a remnant of the old stove. The kitchen was empty. Nicole frowned, expecting to find her mother sitting at the table with her usual mug of tea and a stack of books. Instead, the room was eerily quiet. She looked around. Maybe she's outside fixing something again. Or maybe she actually slept in for once. Nicole glanced out the kitchen window toward the garden. From this distance, it looked ordinary, its vibrant colors muted by the morning haze. But a flicker of light caught her eye, like a firefly darting just out of reach. Her curiosity stirred, and she felt a familiar pull. I wonder what's waiting for me today. She was halfway to the door when her stomach growled, demanding attention. Nicole stopped in her tracks. Her body was inviting her to slow down. Maybe Mom's right about what she says. The fresh country air really does work up an appetite. Turning back, she went to the bread box and pulled out the loaf of homemade bread. The aroma of yeast and flour still clung faintly to the crust. She cut 2 thick slices, spread a generous layer of peanut butter on each, and poured herself a tall glass of milk. Sitting at the table, Nicole looked out the window at the garden, the old barn, and the fields stretching into the distance. What a different view from their kitchen in Montreal, where she'd looked out at their overgrown back garden and the neighbors' rooftops. Here, it was quiet. Boringly quiet, she thought. Out of habit, she picked up her phone to check for videos, but set it back down with a sigh. No data, no Wi-Fi, no connection to the world she used to know. She sat back, biting into the bread and savoring the creamy peanut butter as her eyes wandered to the garden. Then it happened again. A flicker of light at the edge of the garden, just like before. It glimmered for a moment like sunlight catching onto something reflective. Nicole stuffed the last of the bread into her mouth, savoring the lingering taste of peanut butter, and washed it down with the last sip of milk. "Okay, garden, I'm coming." She didn't bother with her once favorite sneakers and rushed out the door, letting it close absently with a bang. The grass was still damp with dew, soaking her bare feet as she hurried across the lawn toward the garden. Absently, she reached into her pocket, only to realize she'd forgotten her phone. Her phone had been her constant companion since her mom had finally relented a couple of years ago after a full year of pleading. Nicole entered the garden through its gate and immediately felt a shift in the air. It was subtle, almost like the garden itself had exhaled. She stopped for a moment, looking around for the source of the shimmering light. As her eyes wandered, she noticed the flowers around her stretching gently toward her, their buds unfurling even wider as if in greeting. "Good morning, flowers, berries, and bushes," Nicole said softly, wondering yet again if it was okay to talk to plants. It's not actually true that plants like being talked to, is it? The garden seemed to sway in response. "I hope you don't mind that I brought my mom here yesterday," Nicole continued, her voice quieter now. "It's just, we don't usually have secrets from each other. And even though I was really angry at her for making me move to this place, she's still my mom. Does that make sense?" The plants swayed gently in the breeze as if they understood her words. Nicole smiled, feeling a little silly, but also strangely reassured. "I guess you guys are all I have to chat with until we get Wi-Fi around here," she said to a nearby rose bush. "If my friends in Montreal saw me talking to flowers, they might think I'd lost it." She continued deeper into the garden until she reached the source of the shimmering light. A towering sunflower with petals that seemed to catch and hold the morning light just a moment longer than they should. The glow was faint, almost easy to dismiss, but something about it drew her closer. The flower flickered softly at its center, like it had something to tell her. Stepping closer, Nicole noticed the garden seemed to pause. The usual rustling of leaves and swaying branches fell silent, as if everything around her was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. She stopped in front of the sunflower, craning her neck to peer into its center. The shimmering didn't appear to come from the flower itself, but from something hidden deep within. The glow shifted, sparkling faintly like sunlight glinting off glass. It looks like a reflection, she thought, squinting to get a better look. But a reflection of what? Her mind drifted back to the box in the barn. The seeds, the key, the mirror, the compass. The shimmering light felt like a clue, something nudging her toward an answer. The memory of the compass flashed in her mind, its needle spinning lazily, pointing to nothing at all. Could it be pointing me here? The compass from the box? She'd barely looked at the compass when she found it in the box. What if the light was trying to show her something? The sunflower swayed gently as she stepped back, its massive face seeming to follow her like a silent nod of approval. "I'll be back," she whispered, smiling as the words made her think of some action movie her mom had mentioned once. Hopefully, the garden knows I mean it in a nice way. Without another word, she turned and hurried out of the garden, her feet damp with the dew-soaked grass. She didn't stop until she reached the barn. Inside, she opened the box. The objects lay just as she had left them, but her eyes went straight to the compass. Its glass face gleamed faintly, and when she picked it up, it felt warm, as though it had been waiting for her all along. The needle quivered, spinning in a lazy circle before pausing, pointing directly toward the garden. Nicole gripped the compass tightly. Whatever it was meant to show her, she was ready to find out. And that is the end of this part. Good night. Sleep tight.